Solitude is the school for geniuses.
Meet Jermane Cheathem. He closed over 50 millions in finance deals, traveled to more than 40 countries. And after 12 years in corporate sales, he built a 95% profit finance business, working just a few hours a day.
It's actually quite easy to have a simple, easy, and fun business if you know what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. But a lot of that comes down to you giving yourself space to reflect on your day.
His life wasn't always like this. He became fetterless at 7 years old. He moved 18 times trying to outrun the chaos that comes with living on the wrong side of the tracks.
Now you're just fumbling around in the dark, trying to find your way home, and you have no idea if you'll ever find the light at the end of the tunnel. But through that darkness and through that solitude and that loneliness, you become this entity or beast or person that is just indestructible.
Through adversity, he learned a hard truth. Sales grows your bank account, but entrepreneurship expands your mind and spirit. If you're ready to create real financial, time, and location freedom, I encourage you to set aside around 50 minutes and listen to my conversation with Jermane.
And the funny part about acceptance, no matter what it is, I don't care if it's a terminal diagnosis or you got fired or you went bankrupt or you lost your wife or whatever the fuck it is, as soon as you accept it, it loses its power.
Hey Jermane, it's been 1 year, right?
I think so, yeah.
For a bit of context, Jermane is the first guest that is rejoining the podcast. So I'm super happy because it's one of my favorite episodes that we recorded last year. And we touch a lot into the freedom philosophy that he's been driven by and all this bulletproof mindset that he has. So I know that we touched a lot on the fear part last time we talked. And I would like to, if you want, dive a bit deeper than that, because I know that you've been abandoned by your first father at 3 years old and then by your adopted father at 7 years old. And that's not an easy start in life. How that and those events shape Jermane that is today?
That's a great question. I think what it really shaped me as is it made me realize that I developed a very big underdog complex. So from that, quote unquote negative frame of, being abandoned by two different fathers before the age of 7, from the outside world, people looked at me almost as if I was a victim. This was my self-perception of how the world viewed me as a victim. And for me, I never viewed myself as a victim. I viewed myself as an underdog. They're different. An underdog is someone that is at a quote unquote disadvantage, but because of that disadvantage, they become extremely hungry on creating what they want to create and becoming who they want to become. And at the end of the day, those are neutral events. We just place stories behind these events. But the story I created in my mind was I'm an underdog now. And that means I have an opportunity to claw back into the arena from a place of a disadvantage, if you will. And I don't know, for me, and I think I would always implore anybody that's in business or entrepreneurship, if you can always have an underdog mentality, then you're never quite content because there's still room for growth. And there's always there's no resting on your laurels and just chilling out and not really pursuing the next evolution of yourself. And so I really believe maybe it's just in hindsight, it seems like more of a blessing that happened to me. But without those events, I don't think I would have this hunger, desire, drive, motivation to see what's possible.
That's interesting perspective because often high achievers like you, most of them see themselves as I'm the best. I know best how to make bold decision or how to do that and that. No one can beat me and so on. But having that humility, if you want, that I still have room to grow. I still can improve and there are others better than me that I can overcome them. I think it gives you this advantage that you're flying under the radar rather than, oh, here I am, I'm the best, beat me if you can at whatever I'm doing. And what other benefits is to that, to being the underdog in business especially?
Well, when I say the underdog, it's almost like I'm fighting the powers that are ahead of me, right? But in the same breath, it's really not from a lens of being humble or humility, because a true underdog believes they are the best, but they're just not seen as the best. It's like internally, you feel like if they can do it, I can do it as good, if not better. So it's not like from a humble place, really. It's almost like I am going to be seen for my talents, hell or high water. And so it's like you're kind of living in these two parallel worlds. Is one is I'm lower than other people, but also I'm higher than other people. And so you have to control these two mindsets at the same exact time. And it's kind of the perfect marriage, because you're humble enough to know that you don't know everything, but you're hungry enough to know that you can conquer anything. So it allows you to act effortlessly, because you realize that there's room for growth through action, but there's room to dominate through action.
And speaking of action, I think it's the quality that kind of differentiates the winner from the loser. How do you make sure that you're not trapped into overthinking or procrastinating and so on? And you're making that first step or the second, the third to build that consistency. How do you build that?
Well, it comes back to the one word, and the one word is desire. I'm not really a big fan of like discipline, because if you have to discipline yourself to do something, you don't really want to fucking do it. It's like you should just act when the time is now to act. And like I've went through different seasons in my life where I've been disciplined and I had to force myself to do stuff. In hindsight, now I realize I was probably doing the wrong things, because it wasn't from a place of true desire, true wanting to, true inspiration. It was just like, well, I told myself I need to do this, so I should do this now, right? Versus when you just get into flow on whatever you enjoy doing, not only is that like life telling you that's the direction you should be going, but you always have so much better outcomes, because you're not fixed within a box of, okay, I'm only going to work this time of the day or this time of the day. Sometimes inspiration hits me at 10 p.m. at night, and I can just work for 2 or 3 hours straight because I'm just locked in. So, the whole, discipline and like getting to do the things you need to do. If you have to force yourself to do something, you're setting yourself up for a failure long term and a miserable life, because whatever you're doing, you're not enjoying it. Like you have to figure out a way to make it enjoyable. I kind of have this thing that I call, it's not simple, easy, and fun. I'm not going to do it. So like I'm always looking for a way to make my life, my business simple, easy, and fun. And if I can't figure out a way to engineer it that way, then I'm going to do something else. So I don't know, man. It's just like if the desire's there, it's there. If it's not there, then do something else.
Yeah, I like this approach, especially because most of us, for a long period of time, we are trapped into doing something that you mentioned, like you mentioned, that we are not enjoying it. And you're just doing it either because it's a job and you have to show up and doing that, or either because it puts food on the table and so on. And while all of those are important, probably none, at least none of the people that I know can do something for a long period of time without either feeling miserable or burning out or breaking their relationships if they don't truly enjoy what they do. But on the other side, people might say, how you find that? Like, not everyone can do what they love, what they enjoy. While both of us know that's not true, how do you answer that?
It's bullshit, because there's always an aspect of whatever you're doing that can be enjoyable if you reframe it as enjoyable. Like it comes back to gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity to do whatever you're doing, instead of looking at it from the lens of, I have to do this, I don't want to do this. It's just a simple reframe from a place of gratitude, and I get to do this. Um, Going back on what we were talking about earlier about discipline, and don't do stuff you don't like. When I was an employee and I was making 300 cold calls, I really didn't like the cold calls. I didn't enjoy it, and I was forced to do it from I'm an employee. I have to do these cold calls, right? But once I got out of the office and started going to meet clients face to face at trade shows, at their offices, what have you, that's what I really enjoyed doing. And the only way I got there is through experimentation. So you're doing something that you're really not enjoying, then experiment and try something else. Like life is about experiments, because if you take enough experiments, enough challenges, enough tests, you're going to find what you actually enjoy in the process. It's still sales, but it's not over the phone anymore. Now I'm just talking to you face to face at a trade show, which I love, or talking to you at your office, which is fun. So it's really about like knowing what feels good within your own heart and soul, but also being brave enough to take a bunch of risks, a bunch of tests, and experiment. It's like I was listening to this podcast about the guy that invented the Dyson vacuum cleaner. He had over 5,000 prototypes. Imagine building 5,000 vacuum prototypes and just continue to experiment and iterate and iterate. And you're literally like, I will not finish until I figure this out. That's the mindset. Like, I will die trying to figure this out. And that's okay, because like that's the mission. And the mission's the mission.
Yeah, and through those experimentation, you find indeed, because people just, I don't know, stumble upon the concept of ikigai or other, and they do those exercise and they're like, is this truly my purpose? Is this truly my mission? But instead of going out there and trying things and actually feeling, is this something that's energizing me or is draining me? Is this something that I see myself doing daily, or I'm probably getting bored after a few days or burning out after 1 month or whatever? And yeah, reframing it to this way of doing things, like experiment. Oh, something is here. I might not enjoy doing that way, like in your case, the sales call, but I enjoy doing the cold calls, but I enjoy doing the face-to-face interactions and so on. And that takes time. And I think that's one of the hardest lesson all of us learn at some point, that anything great takes time. And speaking of, you spent around 12 years into corporate world, into sales, started your own thing. What made you do that switch and actually telling to yourself, I experiment for that much, but this is not truly my path?
Pain. I mean, at the end of the day, I couldn't live with myself anymore being an employee, because my number one value is freedom. And so, sure, as an employee, I made a lot of money. I had a lot of free time. I kind of had a lot of autonomy. Even though I worked for somebody else, I could come and go as I pleased. But I knew the pinnacle of my self maturation and evolution is not to be an employee, it's to be an entrepreneur. And so every day at the office, I knew I wasn't being my highest, best self. And it was just eating away at me day after day, month after month, year after year. And I just knew I couldn't look back at my life when I'm 90 years old in the rocking chair, and knew I could be living a dream life in Vietnam and, running a business remotely. And I didn't take that. I didn't take that risk. I didn't take the action that I knew was best for me. Like for me, it's the most important thing you can ever do moment to moment, day by day, is act on the thing that you know is going to be the action that brings you closest to who you want to become. And usually it's something to do with fear. Like I know we talked a lot about fear last time, but like if you really do follow your fear, the gold is on the other side of that, because in every moment there's like a little voice whispers in your ear, like do that, say this, make the phone call. And usually, or it's like, don't do that, don't do this, stay safe. But it's always coming from a place of trying to keep you protected, trying to keep you comfortable. And so if you get tapped into that little voice, then you'll be able to catch it and then actually act in despite of it. And that's where like all the confidence comes from, all the success comes from, all actually just the joy of life, because you realize you're not being run by fear or your limited mindset or these stupid ideas that, our mind makes up, when really the truth is none of this shit matters. So why not just test yourself to see what's possible?
Indeed. And speaking of limiting mindset, and if you want prefabricated ideas that you must be born in order to burn, sorry. Some people are born to be entrepreneurs, others are born to be full-time employees. To quote you, I call that bullshit. But is that true? Like, you can actually learn how to be a successful entrepreneur, or some people are just made for a full-time job?
Well, I thought I was born to be a employee. I bought hook, line, and sinker the whole cultural phenomenon of you work for 70 years and you retire and you go on a couple of vacations and you die. I just thought that's what life was about. It's what I saw everyone else around me doing the same thing. I didn't know any entrepreneurs growing up. And so it's bullshit because everything is teachable. Entrepreneurship is teachable. So you're not born to be an entrepreneur. You're not born to be an employee. You're born to self-actualize. And I think, in me, my personal opinion, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like the easiest path to self-actualization is through sales and entrepreneurship. I think I would say like the first step is get a sales job because you get your teeth kicked in. You become something you weren't. But then once you transition from sales to entrepreneurship, it's like now you're just fumbling around in the dark trying to find your way home, and you have no idea if you'll ever find the light at the end of the tunnel. But through that darkness and through that solitude and that loneliness, you become this entity or beast or person that is just indestructible. Like literally, from a mental standpoint, nothing can fuck with you. It's just kind of weird. So entrepreneurship is teachable 100%. No one's born that way. That's all a lie.
Yeah, and what I can attest to it is that sorry, is the fact that we have a similar journey in terms of being in sales and after that starting our own business. And I can attest that you get so much rejection into sales position and you just build that thick skin that can help you along the way, and especially in entrepreneurship. And taking that first step into actually going into sales, trying to do cold calling, trying to sell door to door, trying to do whatever you need in order to close deals, it's building some sort of resilience that it's hard to imagine in any other jobs out there. And that is needed indeed for entrepreneurship. Otherwise, it's very hard. And that's probably why a lot of people fail when they start their first business, because they don't have that. They don't have that skin in the game to actually be able to sell themselves or their services or products. And if someone already have a business or they're about to start it and they don't have this previous sales experience, what would be your advice to them in order to build that thick skin and be able to not quit after the first no and or rejection?
Well, if you're building a business and you don't have any sales experience, well, guess what? Your first job in your business is sales.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, because I always tell salespeople, like, if you're in sales, you are dumb not to become an entrepreneur because sales is 80% of the entire business process. So you already are doing 80% of the heavy lifting for somebody else at their company when you could just do it yourself. So if you are starting out as a new business and you don't have any sales experience, now your lead role is in sales. And so the easiest way is, well, there's a couple easy ways to go about this. Number one is don't think of sales as, let me convince you to buy. Sales is, where is the leverage? And usually the leverage is through other people, usually other people's networks. And so I've never sold like a one-on-one kind of hard sales. Most of my most success in sales always comes through finding strategic partners that can just bring me referral after referral that are pre-sold. And sure, it's quote unquote sales, but I'm literally not selling anything. They're doing the selling for me just from the simple psychological fact that I get their goodwill and I get their trust. So the customer comes in with all this goodwill, all this trust, because they know Frank and Frank referred Jermane. And so they trust Jermane inherently. So I would approach sales from that lens of like, who do I know, or how can I start creating relationships with people that have my ideal customer, and just talk to people. This is not like, sales is not trying to convince people. If you're trying to get on a call and hard close somebody, you're selling a product that's hard to sell. I would rather sell easy products that are easy to sell to people that I like doing business with, that we're just having conversations with. There's no hard pitches or anything. So you have to think about like, how can you structure your business so it's simple, easy, and fun, and you're working with people you like to work with, that you don't have to really sell hard.
True, because indeed sales is not convincing, it's not pushing down the throat of someone something that they don't need. if someone needs something and you have it, and you can show that in a way that it's not only compelling, but coming from a point of help, of support. And if you add that layer that you mentioned of partnerships, in which you come from as a recommendation from a friend of yours that already have that product or use that service and so on, how can be easier than that? But of course, in theory, it's easy to do this. But in practice, I would like to get a bit tactical here with you. Since I know we touched a bit last time when it comes to how to find strategic partners, but to make it as easy and as actionable for those watching or listening, can you give us an example, either from your perspective or your clients or others, how to find these partners that can not only last for, let's say, half a year or something in which they recommend you others, but to last longer, to have, if you want, a network of people that are referring clients to you all the time?
Well, yeah. So I'll give you an example of my business. I was chasing after doctors that I was trying to sell them my financial services to. So I would be calling these doctors to see if they needed to get a loan to buy medical equipment, ultrasound or CT scanners or MRIs or something for their practice. And so I was just banging my head against the wall trying to get in touch with these doctors, which they're always in with patients. They're never available. It's just a hard way to get in touch with these guys. And so instead of doing that, I decided, okay, who has the network of doctors that need financing to buy medical equipment? So it makes perfect sense. I started to target the device salespeople, the ultrasound dealers, the MRI dealers, the guys and girls that are selling into the doctor's offices. So from that lens, now instead of me just calling all day to doctors, getting no's or no answers, I'm literally talking to other salespeople that are just like me, that were rowing in the same direction, trying to sell and actually win-win. Because at the end of the day, if they don't sell their equipment, they don't eat. If I don't give them financing, I don't eat. If the doctor doesn't get the equipment, he can't give the best care to his clients or his patients. He doesn't eat. So you have to find the strategic partners that are all rowing in the same direction where it's a win. So these equipment salespeople would just send me deal after deal that were pre-closed because it's in everyone's best interest to offer financing, to finance it because it's tax deductible for the doctors. And these relationships have lasted to this day. I still get deals from these people that have been sending me deals for 20 years, where literally you just make one relationship and it starts to snowball because you got to think about it. If you're a medical device salesperson, you're not the only sales guy at the office. There's 10, 20 other people there. So I can start tapping into their network of other salespeople. And again, the psychology of trust is at play. Now I'm brought into that entire organization, and now they're all sending me their business. And then when Frank leaves and starts his own business, he brings me along. Or if he goes to a different ultrasound competing company, he brings me along. And I have a network of all new sales reps that already have my trust because I know Frank. So from a strategic standpoint, you have to find a business, a product, a service where you can tap into someone else's network that has all your perfect clients that actually need your service for them to sell their service. So it's all about strategy as far as this is concerned. So it's all about making sure all three parties, it's a win and we're all rowing in the same direction.
And how you suggest this to them? Like, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a potential listener that, let's say it's a coach, is selling health coaching, or let's be super specific. I'm helping executives get those 8 hours of sleep a night so they can make better decisions daily. It's very specialized coach, I say. And how I can find, or who can be a good partner for me. And once I found those, how I can build that relationship.
Well, so for example, if you're coaching executives specifically in the niche of sleep, so the best partners would be any kind of executive coach because all of their clients are executives, but an executive coach is more general, more of a mindset, more of let's troubleshoot what's your struggles, more of a SWOT analysis. But if your niche is sleep only for executives, well then you could literally go to these executive coaches and say, I specifically help executives sleep better, because we know without sleep, you can't function as an executive. You can't function as a human without sleep. It's like probably the number one thing you need if you really want to be a high performer. And so I would go to them and make that pitch and say, here's what I'll do for any of your clients, your executive clients. I'll give them 60 days of free sleep coaching specifically for executives, because I know their challenges. I know what's preventing them from sleeping. I know what happens when they wake up in the middle of the night and what they're thinking about. So I have this specific expertise in executive sleep patterns. And I'll give them, 60 days of the coaching on this specific thing. You can bundle it into your package so it makes you look better. Now you have better goodwill towards your clients, because now they're like, oh shit, this is great. I get executive coaching and I get executive sleep coaching from another expert for free. Great. So again, this win kind of scenario. So it's no different than, like, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but if I was selling like fitness, like weight loss coaching, I would always go after I would probably go after high-end divorce attorneys, people that are doing very people with wealth that are going through a divorce, because now they're back on the dating market and they're probably going to start losing some pounds and start, because if you've been married for 10 years, there's a good chance if you're a guy or a girl, you put on 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 pounds. I don't know. So maybe it's now time to, get in shape and go back into the dating market. So if I can go to these high-end divorce attorneys and give them my specific fitness regimens for their clients for free that specifically are about people that are coming back into the dating market post-divorce, then again, it's a win. Everyone wins in the scenario. And then typically after the free trial period, they'll sign up for whatever my package is, because they know, like, and trust me, I got them some results. So it's just really like thinking creatively about, like, okay, where is the leverage? Who has my ideal client? And how can I make sure it's almost a no-brainer for all parties involved?
Yeah, true. Because at the end of the day, it's not just you and your partner winning. It's in the end client is the one that should win at the first and foremost. Because if they don't win, none of your partner will win. And yeah, having this mindset of having this approach when it comes to building partnerships is way more smarter than, I don't know, finding someone that is doing exactly like you and offering exactly your service or your product and just giving you whatever the leftovers are. If they don't have enough room, I'll push this project to you. But that's not sustainable, it's not predictable. But when you complement in some way, it's way more smarter. And if you're moving a bit back to business part, like once you build this foundation, like you get yourself accustomed to it, building partnerships, you have this pipeline of clients lining up, how you make sure that you, like you say, make fun the business side of things and allowing yourselves to build this for long term, not just, I don't know, one-off project or one-off exit and so on.
Well, I think it really comes down to, like, where's your genius? Like, where's your genius lie? And you only kind of know where your genius lies is if you have an opportunity to have solitude. There's this quote or this idea that, like, solitude is the school for geniuses, because you really don't know what you're good at and what you enjoy unless you have space to reflect on everything. You can't just constantly be distracted, constantly be doing. You have to kind of step back almost every day to give yourself a clear picture of, like, what's really lights me up, what do I really enjoy, and then what am I really good at? And so the fun, the simplicity comes with when you're congruent with what you enjoy doing and what you're good at. And you just have to find, like, you want to spend the bulk of your day doing those things, not the shit you hate doing and not the things you're not good at. So it's actually quite easy to have a simple, easy, and fun business if you know what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. But a lot of that comes down to you giving yourself space to reflect on your day. Like, I did these 3 things. What was the funnest part of my day? Was it sending LinkedIn DMs? Was it coming on the podcast with Gabe? Was it writing a journal entry? Like, what was it? And when you have time to reflect on it, it's like, okay, so that's the direction. I'm good at this. It brings in revenue. It makes my life simple. It's fun. So it's not like you're not trying to find the answer to the fun part of business. It's already there. You just have to look at it. It's just right in front of you. but you're not giving yourself space to see it clearly.
And that's self-audit. It can make it as easy as having a piece of paper next to you, and after every big bulk of activities that you do, you just write down what you truly enjoy from that, what energizes you, what makes you light up, rather than just, oh my God, I feel sluggish again, I didn't enjoy this part or whatever. And having that clarity and seeing the patterns, like, because sometimes might not be the thing itself, might just be, I don't know, you speaking of sleep, you didn't have a good night's sleep, or you didn't eat well, or whatever. But self-auditing your activities and identifying those levers can make all the difference. And this is basically something that I practice as well for myself, for my clients, and finding those strengths, and not the learn one, because the learn one, you learn them because you have to use them, but some of them might drain you. And just being super clear with yourself and honest with yourself, is this truly something that I enjoy, or is this draining me, can make all the difference. And you build this, you are living your life in your own term, and still I know a lot of people that are still feeling miserable, even that they enjoy what they're doing, they're having the business of their dreams, but they're still trapped somehow. Did you face that in your clients or others that you're talking to?
Oh yeah, I face it within myself every day because the experience of being a human being is, in one word, unsatisfied. It's this perpetual feeling of being unsatisfied, no matter what you accomplish. And I think the only way out of it is accepting reality. Like, as soon as you accept that I'm feeling unsatisfied because of XYZ, or I'm feeling whatever, frustrated because of XYZ, as soon as you can just accept that's how you feel today, then you're not going to beat yourself up over it. Then you're not going to go rush out and try to fix it. You're just going to accept it. And the funny part about acceptance, no matter what it is, I don't care if it's a terminal diagnosis, or you got fired, or you went bankrupt, or you lost your wife, or whatever the fuck it is. As soon as you accept it, it loses its power. It becomes just the reality of life. Like, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to get. We all die. So like all of this, feeling of, I had success, but I still feel like something's missing. Yeah, because you're not accepting reality. Reality is what it is. Like, we're here right now. I'm talking to you, Gabe, right now. This is the only reality. It's cloudy outside. That's the fucking reality. If I'm going to be mad about it not being sunny, or I should be doing something else, or you can't fight with life. And so all the people, including myself, when I fight with life, I lose. When my clients fight with life, they lose. In business and life are the same thing. So like, if you're fighting with the reality of your business, you're losing, versus like accepting it. Like, right now I have no clients. Okay, that's the reality. What can I do about it? Well, there's options. Here's option A, B, or C. Which one do I think would be the best for me? Which one do I enjoy doing? Which one I might be good at? Can I experiment for each option A, B, or C for a week and then reassess it after 3 weeks? Like, because once you accept reality, now you can actually make decisions. You're not caught in the emotional baggage of, oh, it's cloudy outside. It's just like, it's cloudy outside. Now what? Okay, well, maybe it's a good day to go to the mall. Maybe it's a good day to do something that I don't need to go to the beach, maybe, so maybe I'll save the beach for another day. So it's like, it just gives you so much freedom once you accept reality, that it's like, this shit doesn't fucking matter. Because you know how it is. You're in a bad mood one day and then you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and everything's fucking fine. So it's like, it passes. So like, once you realize everything passes, yeah, c'est la vie.
Yeah, acceptance is a big thing and solves so many of our problems, because simply eliminate them. They're not there. They're not, might be real, but in the same time, the fact that you accept that, as you mentioned, it don't feed with power that thing that is trapping you. And man, every single time I speak to you, for those listening, I met Jermane in real life, and it's the same cool dude that is super wise. And I always wanted to ask you, and I will do it here, how did you become this man? I know it's a lot of living, traveling to 40 countries, coming through all those moments that you basically fight for survival and learning sales, entering sales, and building a business. But how you build this mindset? Like, I know it's a boring question probably, but I'm sure you have a wise answer to that.
The fish doesn't know it's in water. So it's really hard to self-examine yourself, like how did this all come about? If I had to put a few ideas behind it, there's a study that if you hang around high performers just in their presence, then it improves your performance by 15% just by being around them, even without them even saying anything, just through osmosis. And if you hang around low performers, you decrease your performance by 30%. So twice as much to the downside. And I've always been very careful on how I cultivate who I hang around with. And even more important than who I hang around with, because if I have some friends and I see them, once a week, twice a week for an hour, that's not as important as the whatever 200 hours I spent by myself. And when I'm by myself, consume influences that are high performers through books, through podcasts, through lectures, through reading. I just consume knowledge. I don't care if it's Stoicism, Taoism, Steve Jobs, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Like this books about business, life, spirituality, sales, interpersonal dynamics, relationships, travel, the earth, whatever. It doesn't matter. I just consume so much. I think based on these stats, I think I've just absorbed so much high performers that it just raises my bar of performance. And then the second part of this is it allows me to take unrelenting action, because action it's the holy grail. Because from the action, now you know how to iterate, you know how to make it better. Now you have a feedback loop. Now you have data. And so those two things combined, I think really help me is become a high performer. And when my mindset's from a high performance mindset, then I take all the action. And then when I get the action, I have the data, which then is a feedback loop on what's working, what's not working. And it gives me wisdom because now I have perspective on all these different areas of life, all these different subgenres that are still part of our entire experience as a human. And so I'm able to connect these fringe ideas all together. And I think it's just like, I think everything in the world is one thing. It just looks different. And I think I've been able to kind of synthesize all of that through, the wisdom I've got through books by taking action and then reflecting on the action and being honest with myself and being open and be like, I have a problem here, or I have a problem here, or here's why I'm thinking this way. And like being like completely like okay with being self-critical, but not from a lens of like, you're bad. It's just like, oh, that's reality. I do this because of this, or I'm scared of this because of this. I think once you can be completely transparent with yourself about your strengths and your limitations, life and business gets pretty easy.
Indeed. And the reality is that a lot of people consume, but don't consume the right thing. A lot of people consume the right thing, but they don't take action. A lot of people take action, but that last part of actually doing something with the data, being honest with yourself and sitting there by yourself and analyzing your week, your day, whatever, and seeing what you can improve or what went wrong, what went well, and so on. And I'll say for my own plans at least, it's fucking hard, man. Like to be able to find time to stay with yourself and doing that self-analyze and self-reflection. Personally, I do it more rarely and more rarely than I used to do. And I see that I'm struggling to see those data in a useful way. And I'm just looking at, for example, for some things I use AI and they just give me a bunch of data of how I spend my time, for example. But I rarely do something with it. Like I'm aware of the things that where I should not spend that much time and what should I focus on and so on, but that's kind of it. So I don't get into the details. So I remember you say something last time about, if you spend more than 4 hours working on something, you're probably working on the wrong thing or something like that. And that's one of my fault. But apart from that, like identifying that what you're working on and changing that, what else someone, me including, can do in order to find more time for self-reflection and benefit from that?
Well, what do you think is your hindrance of sitting down and doing the self-reflection?
Fear might be one of them, like being by myself and just, yes, alone. Even that, for example, I tried to implement with my wife day by ourselves since traveling and living together. is basically spending almost all the time together, having the same passion, we play the same sports and so on. So we end up in a position that we need that like one day off in which to be by ourselves. And it feels weird. Probably it's fear, might be something else. What do you reckon?
Yeah, so I think this was in my case, it was fear. It was the fear of me seeing something that I now can't unsee, and now I have to address it. And so that was always my hindrance of sitting down and journaling or like going through exercises or what have you, or just going on a long walk without headphones or listening to a podcast, just, reflecting. Because once you have a realization about something that is your roadblock, now you see it and now you have to live with the two options. I do something about it or I ignore it. And that's scary. That can be very fear invoking versus like just staying comfortable being blind, because, ignorance is bliss. So for me, I don't know, fear has always been like my gift, or like it's just been like, I just know, again, I've had enough reps. I've read enough books. I've had enough experiments that I've always known that on the other side of the fear is all the fruit. And so like once you have experienced that enough, here comes the fear again. But I know like that's where the growth is. And then also the clarity, because now I know what to do. So, I think about the whole, if you're working more than 4 hours a day, you're doing something wrong. I think a lot of the reason why people work more than 4 hours a day, because they don't reflect on what would be a right action for me to take today, because they're just head down, pounding away at shit that doesn't fucking matter, just to stay busy. Because at the end of the day, I think the reason why we do all this shit is because we have a lack of meaning. And so we give meaning to things that don't mean any fucking thing. We give meaning to how many likes I got, or we give meaning to this political shit. We give all of our energy away to things that do not fucking matter. And so when you have a lack of meaning in your life and a lack of a mission, then you're going to give things that don't matter meaning. And the reason why we do this is just my personal opinion, is we want to distract ourselves as long as possible to avoid looking death in its eyes, because that is the ultimate demise of a human. And so we do all these things to stay distracted from looking at death. So the more you can get familiar with your biggest fear, which is all of our biggest fear, is death, regardless if you like it or not. Because, even for me, like I love life. Do I want it to end? No, but it's not for me to say. Plus, this was a gift. I didn't earn to get here. I just got here some fucking way. I don't even know where I'm at. We're just in a weird place in this vast universe. So the long-winded way to say this is, I think if you really care about yourself, you'll take the time to figure out, who the fuck am I?
Who are you?
No, I am really. I'm just a witness. I'm just an observer. I'm not even like, I mean, obviously I'm a person and I'm a human, but like really at my essence, at my core, I'm this awareness. Like I can see the screen, but I know how the optics works with your brain, and I know the science behind it. I know at the end of the day, all of our senses and all of our awareness is just, we're witnesses of life. We're experiencers of life. That's all I am. And I'm made of energy that's experiencing this walk. And at the end of the day, I feel like we're all just walking each other home while we're here. We're only here for whatever, 100 years, but we're all fucking here together. It's crazy. It's not only magical, but it's beautiful, because we're all here in the same space. You're in a different country. I'm in a different country. There's people all over the world that you interact with, and we're all here for this little 100-year span. And this is our time. And so we're all just walking each other home to wherever we came from. And I'm just a witness, man.
Beautifully said. And I saw somewhere an experiment in which you kind of have this visual calendar of your life and the amount of days that you have left. And you kind of realize that, like you said, like, oh, I'm not here for long. I might just make the most out of it rather than complaining or living in fear and not doing this extra step, if you want, to be more aware about the things that we truly enjoy doing. Might be your job, might be leaving your job, might be building something for yourself, or simply spending more time doing, I don't know, something else. And it's a pity that Unfortunately, probably most of us live our lives like that, in fear, without truly pushing for something that might change it for the better. And speaking of that, if someone tune in today and listen to our conversation, I want to get in touch with you in order to work together, how they can reach out to.
So I'm most active on LinkedIn. You can obviously go to my website, creatorslearn.com, because either you're a creator or you're a victim of your life and your business. So I love creators. One thing you touched on, Gabe, that was interesting. You said, everyone, it's unfortunate that most people kind of have this suboptimal life. And it reminds me of that Emerson quote where he says, most men live lives of quiet desperation. And one thing I wanted to challenge your audience to think about is, do you ever remember a day where you just feel good? Like either you had a good workout, you closed a big deal, or you're just feeling confident. Maybe you challenged yourself on some fear and you overcame it, or at least you did the thing you really didn't want to do, but you did it anyways because you knew it was best for you. I want to ask the audience is, do you realize and are you aware of how the world responds to you when you're in that type of energy state? I do these little experiments with myself all the time, and I'll be in I'll even do it on purpose. Like I'll kind of be like in a passive state and I'll walk around and see how the world treats me. But then I also come from a place of power and presence and warmth, and from a place of abundance and strength. And the world just everything just comes to me, like everything I ever want. Like all these things start showing up, and it's like literally how you carry yourself moment to moment dictates what you achieve and what you get and the joy in your life. So I would just say for your audience, try experiments like that and just see like the world reacts to me totally different when I'm coming from a place of abundance.
Beautiful challenge. And it's funny because last week, after a long break, I start playing paddle again. And even that I'm new to the sport, it fills me with so much energy. And I just came home from paddle and I noticed that my wife is looking at me a bit different. It was like, whoa, I haven't seen you in a while in this state. You should go more often to play paddle. I was radiating of happiness. I was radiating of energy, and not just because of the exercise itself, but because I truly enjoyed the moment. And I was fully present. I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about other things that I have to do that day or whatever. And at the end of the day, it comes down to that, to be in that moment, whatever you're doing, talking with Jermane on a podcast, doing some work on a client project, playing paddle, spending time with my wife, whatever it is. And we should live more like that, because at the end of the day, it's just that moment that truly exists.
Without question, man, that's all of life is never lived in the future or the past. It's only lived right now. So that's where all the juice is. That's all the joy is. And that's really where you get to create yourself. Like you were saying, like you know what's lighting you up with the paddle. Maybe it's the exercise. Maybe it's the camaraderie with the other players. Maybe it's just connecting with people and having a relationship with these folks. But at the end of the day, you're recognizing it as a witness, as an experimenter of this experience of life. And you're saying, oh shit, Gabe, this is working for me. I need to fucking double down on this. And same thing in business. Like, you know, certain things are working for you, fucking double down on them. Like, what are you doing Facebook ads? If that's not working for you and you don't fucking like it, don't do Facebook ads. But maybe you do love them and that does fire you up. So know thyself at the end of the day. So yeah, that's good advice, man.
Jermaine, thank you so much. So again, you share a huge amount of not only wisdom, but practical lessons, practical tips that people can actually apply. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come back. So thank you so much for accepting the invite.
Thanks for having me, man. It was great. I had a lot of fun.